Namaskar. I had discussions with some people yesterday. They had some questions, and today I want to go over some of these questions and see what best possible answer we can get out of those. So, the first question somebody had asked me was, what is meditation? Everyone has some form of idea on what meditation is. Different schools of thoughts come up with different ideas on meditation. So it's very hard for anyone to understand what is a true meditation. I'm going to speak from my own understanding, from my own experience of what it could be, and then I will let you judge and make a conclusion what you think about it. From what I have noticed that mind, when it acts in two directions. The directions are not same. We loosely think that, maybe mind, when it's working, we call it's thinking. It's not always true. There is one type of activity which is definitely a thinking, and then there is another kind of activity which you can call ideation. What's the difference between both? Thinking is always analytical, logical. Like when you are listening to me, you are thinking whether Dada is saying is correct or not correct. Is it logical or not logical? Is this something for me or it is not for me? Is this something I should even spend my time listening to or not? So this either or, this comparison debate is always there in the mind. This is the nature of thinking, always. But there is a stage of mind where it is not affected by either and or, this comparative analysis. It goes into a very neutral state of mind. There is no judgment, there is no comparison, and that state of mind is called ideation. An artist goes out in the middle of the forest. Normally when artist has to give a performance, let's say a musician has to give a performance, he or she is burdened with this thought that I have to give a nice performance next day on the stage. Whether people will like my music or not, I have to choose the right kind of melody, right kind of song for the occasion. So all these expectations you build on the mind and then try to build your actions, your thoughts according to that. But during ideation, that thing is not there. Mind achieves a supreme state of neutrality. So the same artist, same musician, one day comes with a thought that, okay, today I'm not going to prepare a music or sing a music for the stage or for people. He or she goes out in the forest and alone and opens the guitar or whatever musical instrument and sings by heart, by himself or herself alone singing. When that singing is happening, because there is no burden, external burden of targets and desires and expectations, that engagement of the mind is ideation. And the byproduct of that ideation is a pure state of happiness. So this thinking and ideation are the two different types of activities of mind, and meditation is not thinking. Meditation is ideation. So only when somebody is able to develop a way to use the mind for ideation, then only meditation can happen. And by understanding this difference between thought and ideation, you can make your own judgment whether what you are doing is meditation or not. The other question somebody asked me and wanted me to answer was, do we really meditate? A lot of people spend hours, they spend minutes, they spend half an hour, they spend 5 hours. How to know you are really meditating or you're just killing your time? Many of you might have heard this poem which describes that if meditation is not done with a correct perspective, it's like a bull or the ox which is tied to the pole with this machine, and with that pole the bull goes round and round and round, moves the machine, and it might have by end of the day traveled 50 miles, 50 kilometers, but at the end of the day the bull has not moved even an inch away from where the bull was. So that kind of movement where there is an effort but there is no outcome, such kind of trap can happen actually in meditation. So I'm spending time for meditation but not doing the actual ideation that I should be doing, then I may develop a false sense of ego that, oh, I meditated for this long. That ego could be dangerous, and you will start to compare yourself with others and you look down upon others. All those are not really meditation at all. So again the question is, how do I know that I'm meditating? The very normal phenomena. See, I'm not like a great meditator. I have started meditating since my childhood at the age of 5. And frankly, I used to be able to spend a lot more time in meditation in childhood than later on, with all these things to do and going around meeting people, running projects. It takes a little bit toll on your life. Howsoever, we know that at least from my experience, I can understand that anybody who wants to seriously do meditation, and when they sit down, the first few minutes are very challenging, and not 30-40%, over 90% of the time, people, when they start meditation, by the 9th or 10th minute they fall back. And why they do that? Because the moment they close their eyes for doing meditation, the mind has a baggage, it has a luggage of lifetimes, it has a luggage of all the past years that we have experienced in our life, from childhood to adulthood, growing up, schools, colleges, people, relatives, neighbors, education system, society, political narratives. All this has created this cloud and burden, the luggage on the mind. So the moment we close our eyes, normally when with eyes open I don't notice all those things, but the moment I am closing my eyes, all these things, they are like an army, they attack. It's like a world war is attacking the mind right away. So it's very easy for meditators to start with closing the eyes and within few minutes drift away in all these thoughts. They just attack and you are carried away by that. I'll give you an example. Somebody is a typical businessman, and morning he gets up, takes his bath and get ready to go to start his shop. And then he thoughts, okay, I have learned meditation, I should do meditation before I go. Fine. He sits down sincerely. But like for the first few minutes, he closes the eyes and then suddenly he starts to have this day planning going on. Okay, when I go to my shop, what will be my plan? What kind of product I will sell? What kind of customers I will have? And how much money I'll make? He will start to do all these estimates for the day. So he gets into that mode. Is very easy for anyone. If you are a student going to class, then you may start to plan about what you learned today and what kind of activities you will have, how will you meet friends. So easily mind can get drifted into that. So these first few minutes, very challenging, that we get carried away with all these thoughts. And many times we have just bad experience in the life. And those bad experiences, with the open eyes, we are kind of diverted. I'm watching TV, talking to people. Those things do not bother so much, but the moment I close my eyes, all my painful memories of life, they just bother you, and you start get carried away with that. That is the most challenging part. And a lot of people, when they carried away with that, their meditation stops. You are not meditating anymore. Although you may be sitting for half an hour, 1 hour, just engaged in that kind of thinking, meditation is not happening. You have simply drifted away. There are other kinds of people also who actually go a little bit more than that. They are able to somehow not get bothered by all this attack of army of thoughts, and they can go further. But there is a natural tendency in meditation. When you sit down, when you calm your thoughts, the mind gets relaxed, it gets calm, it becomes little focused. So when there is a relaxation of mind, something else happens. It's called a hypnosis state. That's where you feel very relaxed, calm and sleepy. And I have noticed a lot of people after that stage just fall asleep. When you fall asleep, your meditation has eventually ended. It's not going any further. And in that sleepy state of mind, you may be sleeping for the rest of the time and you can call it a meditation. No, it's not meditation. Meditation is only when you can conquer this first stage, second stage, and you are able to bring your mind into that level of ideation where you connect yourself with the force, that energy, that supreme force all around us. If you can connect with that, that's where you are getting into the real kind of meditation. It takes some effort. It does not take anything else, just your self effort. You don't have to put any pain to yourself, but it's just a way to put your mind into the right direction. If you can do that, if you can bring your mind to that state of ideation, yes, then you are definitely meditating, otherwise not. For most people, we can do all kinds of activities very easily. I can talk to people, I can study, I can do very difficult tasks. But when it comes to meditation, it becomes very challenging and difficult for many of us to do. So the question is, why it is so difficult to meditate? Actually, meditation is not difficult at all. There is nothing that you have to work so hard. Rather, you have to learn how to calm your mind and remove this going forward and always trying to challenge your mind. You have to get out of that. So meditation is not difficult. It looks like it is difficult because of a few things. One is that, we have a child in all of us. Right from childhood, there is a pure mind. But over the time, when this layer of the knowledge, worldly knowledge is put on the mind, then there is a layer of all this culture of the people, friends, family, all that put on the mind. Then you learn from your friends and relatives and your people who you are close to. You learn from them, and that kind of layer is again put on the mind. Then you read yourself from the books, you gain knowledge from watching TV, mobile and whatnot. All those things also puts layers on your mind. So the pure mind, when it is born from childhood, gets layered with all this cloud over it. So that layer creates duality. A child, when is angry with someone, will tell, "Oh, uncle, I am angry with you." But when you grow up, you don't say to uncle, "I am angry." You are inside cursing the uncle, "Oh, he's such a bad uncle." And then externally, you will say, "Happy and nice to meet you." So this is kind of gap we have, and this gap becomes bigger and bigger as we grow. As we become older, the gap is wider and wider. That gap between internal and external existence is one of the biggest reasons why it is difficult for us to meditate. Because the reality is very different outside and reality is very different inside. Lot of people I have seen that have difficulties in life. They face difficulties and they go and challenge people. They will go and bully people. They don't have success in certain things they want to do, but they will try to impose success on others, that okay, although you are not successful, you will make it look like you are successful. So all this quagmire is all going on. Internally, the situation is totally different. Internally, you are not confident, you are not sure what's going on, and this gap is there. And why this gap is there? As I told you before, all these thoughts and desires and expectations is imposed on the mind. And you look at yourself based on what people have taught you. People have taught you that you are ugly and you think you are ugly. No, you are neither ugly nor beautiful. You are what you are. So that originality is lost. You are not your true self, what you were, what your mind used to be when it was born as a child. And because of this, what we can call, a lot of people say mind becomes mature. No, mind has become polluted, not mature. So this pollution, you need to clear it. It's like you need to bring some kind of filter to remove all these pollutions from the mind. So that gap between internal and external, it becomes the biggest hindrance for meditation. The other thing what we face is we all build certain type of personality in all of us. Our mental frame becomes like that. And these mental frames are dominated by the way you are brought up. I will give you an example. You go and ask people, what is success? You will get 100 kind of answers for 100 people. Why it is like that? Why success is not one defined thing? Because the perception differs. When I say that when I say that I have a beautiful God in my mind? Beautiful according to you. What about if the same God is also a God for a goat? The God of the goat will look like a goat. And for the goat, that God is beautiful. And I'm a human being and I have imagination of a God in my mind. And I think of a beautiful God, then that God is not going to look like a goat. So see, I have this perception of God in my mind, which I think, okay, that is perfect, beautiful God. But the perception of good and bad, beauty, not beauty, and everything else, it depends on what I am and how I am brought up. For mind to achieve this neutrality, to be able to meditate becomes difficult because of this pseudo maturity, pseudo knowledge. That knowledge has to be removed. You don't need to fight that knowledge. That simply needs to be removed. Mind needs to be brushed and cleaned so that it comes to the pure state what it was as a child. So these personalities that we over the time built, that builds this mental frame on us. So the one type of personality is where people think, oh, I am physically big and strong, I can beat 10 people. These people are very unsuccessful. They cannot do 100 push-ups and jumps like me, so I am more successful. These people are very physical oriented. They just judge everybody according to their height and body and weight and all that. You know that, you can understand this is not an answer. You can't call it a success. But that's how some people are. And they are because that's how they are brought up. Maybe they are brought up in a family where they give this prominence for physical build-up and they think life is all about that. Then there are other people whose focus is all on the intellectuality. You go and tell them, okay, what is success? They will say success means you should have knowledge on subjects. Look at my library. I have read 100 books. I know so much deep about philosophy. So these kind of people, they perceive the success, everything else based on their intellectual perception. So these are intellectual oriented kind of personalities. Now, I don't need to answer this question. You yourself know what to call it. Is it really a success? Probably a limited success, not complete. And there are some people who are, I can say, pseudo-spiritual oriented kind of people. They think, okay, I'm going to a cave, I'm going to a forest, secluded from the people, secluded from the society. I'm doing long meditation, and in the meditation, what good is all that for? You are doing all this for yourself, nothing else. You will have nice realization, but you will have what society benefits out of that. So when you don't have that welfare thinking, you have that selfish thinking. Again, that if you perceive and try to tell people that is a success, maybe it is true for a little bit. It's not a complete success. So the one who judges success based on his physical, the other one judges the success based on the mind, and the third kind of people who go into all these practices of, okay, I meditate 8 hours, so I'm more successful than others. No. The moment you try to compare yourself with others in a way that you put somebody down, no matter how long you meditate, it is useless. The very basis of meditation is that you bring that ideation of existence of the same supreme entity in everything all around you. My spiritual master Baba, he says, the force that guides the stars guides you too. It is true. There is a supreme force which is guiding. This force is all around us. There is some phenomena, there is some pattern in the nature, in the force all around. This is not happening automatically. There is some force that is guiding all of this happening. So through meditation, if I can remove all this baggage, I can connect myself with the same force. I will not fight against it. I'll become part of that force. Then I'll feel, I can understand that there is oneness with everything. There is no difference amongst people to people. That ideative stage of mind is achieved. And the more you start to get towards that, you'll find meditation becomes much easier. You don't need to struggle and fight in your mind. It will naturally happen. Whatever meditation you do, but this is a kind of setup of the mind that is required for you to meditate. You could be meditating while walking and talking to people. You could be meditating while eating food. But you have to have that neutrality of the mind to be there. Then yes, then meditation is not difficult. The last question that I am going to answer today is how meditation is even useful. There are very intelligent people in the world. So the question is, why do we even need to meditate? I'm perfectly happy. I'm enjoying my life. Everything is wonderful. I have a beautiful Mercedes car. I have like 5-storied building. I'm enjoying my life. Why do we need to meditate? My answer is that how many people have you seen great unhappy personalities? Means they are great. They look like they are great. They look like they have achieved a lot of pomp and show and prestige in the world, but internally in their mind, because of that neutrality is not in the mind, because they cannot bring that stage of ideation, they are always looking for happiness in the physical object. Money, people, power, they are looking for happiness in all of that. You notice these kind of people all around you. So when they say that I'm happy, no, you're not happy. You don't have the pure kind of happiness, which we use the word ananda. You don't have that. You probably, what you have is a notion of happiness. The notion of happiness is, oh, I go and eat ice cream, I feel good. Yes, that is pleasure from your sensory organs. I go and watch nice movies, oh, I feel relaxed. Yes, because you are sleeping during watching a movie. That's a relaxation. But no, you don't have, because the moment you wake up, you are again running after the same goal. You want something else to entertain, something else to feel good about. You'll go to talk to people, pass your time. Why all that is happening? Because there is some vacuum inside. So the one of the things meditation does is basically saves you from that state of mind. How many people you have seen are rich, unhappy, stressful people? They are rich with the money, but they have so much stress, they are so much unhappy. This constant worry, I'm not saying that you should stop all that, don't get me wrong, no. There are certain things in the life, there are certain things in the society, all of those things are needed. My only saying today is that you don't let that affect your mind. It's like lotus. The lotus is there in the water, so the world is like a water, you are like a lotus. You exist amongst all these things. They are all required. You do need house, you do need vehicle, you need people, you need economy, everything is required. But you as a person, as a personality, are not affected by that. Once you achieve that neutrality and ideative, you will see that your happiness is much greater, much bigger, much permanent. There is a systematic research done on these kind of things. Says that when students, they go out in exam hall with burden of expectations, I must perform, I must have that marks, their performance drops. They actually drop in their performance. So the best thing is that they go without any burden. You just put your best what you can. Don't put these burdens of expectations from parents, friends, oh, I must be first. If you can learn that art, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna uses the word yoga karmashu kausalam. Means one of the ways how you understand yoga is that it's a way to lead a life. So you just do your best and leave the rest in the hands of the forces all around you. So you develop that attitude of surrender, letting it go. It's like you have differences with some people. You go and press your point to a certain extent. And at some point you realize that it's not happening, then you have that skills in your life. That okay, at some moment you can say, okay, this is not happening. And then you can still maintain very sweetness in the relationship with the people. And at some moment you can say, okay, it seems like we will not agree on the point. But there are 99 other things in the life which we agree on. Let's work on that. Meditation is the greatest tool for all that. Because it helps you to get rid of the baggage, helps mind to come out of this psychology of judging situation, judging people, judging myself, become cynical to myself, cynical to others, this thought of good and bad, small and big. Then once you get out of all that, whether you are in a mud or you are in a nice rain water or whatever you do in your life, you'll always be able to enjoy. That happiness is a greatest achievement through ideative meditation, a methodical meditation. And that kind of meditation, I will say, is a true meditation. There are people in the life, you go and talk to them, they will try to make you feel that you are a bad person. You did something wrong in the life, something big sin you have done in your life. No. I mean, if you are meditating, you will develop this idea that not to get influenced by all that. You are exactly what you think of yourself. It's just the way how we look and perceive at the things. You look at a plant and you say, oh, this is a poisonous plant. No, it's a useful plant if you know how to use the poison of that plant. So it's the attitude towards me and towards others that we develop through the meditation leads to the success.